federal judge in Texas is on the verge of deciding a case that may pose the biggest threat to abortion rights since Samuel Alito's Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. In the next couple of weeks, that judge will rule on whether to reverse the FDA's decades-old approval of the abortion pill, also known as mifepristone, which could essentially ban the drug. It would essentially ban the drug nationwide. Yes, you heard that correctly, nationwide, meaning every single state, no matter how blue or how red. The drug accounts for more than half of all abortions in this country and has been a major lifeline for those living in states with some of the strictest abortion bans. The judge who will ultimately decide the fate of this pill is a man by the name of Matthew Kacsmaryk, who was, unsurprisingly, nominated by Donald Trump. Now, just to give you some background, before joining the bench, he worked as deputy general counsel at a Christian law firm known as the First Liberty Institute. It's known for representing cases that oppose the separation of church and state and are also anti-LGBTQ. In his past writings, he has described being transgender as a mental disorder. He's called homosexuality disordered. And he has said that sexual revolutionaries had made the unborn child and marriage secondary to, quote, erotic desires of liberated adults, unquote. This past October, he struck down new guidelines from the Biden administration that protected transgender folks from workplace discrimination. And 2 months later, ruled that anyone under the age of 18 in the state of Texas needs approval from their parent before getting birth control from federally funded clinics. Joining me now is Senator Mazie Hirono, Democrat from Hawaii, and Wendy Davis, former Texas state senator and founder of Deeds Not Words. Thank you both for being here. And Senator, I do want to start with you first. This is a very clear example of judge shopping. The Guardian wrote about the way that they wound up with this judge, and it said that you probe a bit deeper, it becomes clear why this particular court is so popular among extreme right-wing litigants. Last September, the rules of the court were amended so as to require all new civil and criminal cases to be heard by Kacsmaryk, no exceptions. That means that anyone going judge shopping in Amarillo knows exactly what they're going to get. A Trump-appointed federal judge unafraid to sweep legal precedent aside and replace it with ideological conservative positions. The real danger here is that that could also describe Samuel Alito and the other 5 members of the extreme right Supreme Court. So it feels like there are now 2 powerful federal courts that could put women's health and lives in jeopardy.
That's right. There have been over 200 judges nominated by Trump, and so many of them, like Judge Kacsmaryk, have an ideological axe to grind, and they're very busy with that axe, and that is why all these cases are going before him. When we think about the chaos that was created by the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade, that is going to be completely compounded, and I know Wendy knows this because she comes from the state where so much of this is happening. It's going to be even more compounded if this judge, with his right-wing agenda, does away with the medication abortion pill. And that is going to affect totally millions and millions of women in every state, even a state like Hawaii, which was the first state in the nation to decriminalize abortion.
And, you know, Wendy Davis, you obviously, stood up and I remember your pink sneakers and tried to stop your state from taking away women's rights. It's gone way in the other direction. It's one of the most extreme states when it comes to owning women the minute they're pregnant, and girls, teenagers, little girls. Talk about what it will mean if now women can't even get this pill. Now women in states like yours would have no recourse in any state.
That's exactly right, Joy. And as Senator Hirono points out, this isn't something that's just going to impact people in Texas. It will impact people in New York and California and any other state that currently allows free, unfettered access to abortion. In Texas, though, where abortion is now criminalized, it is often the only way that people can access the abortion care that they need. And as you know, Attorney General Merrick Garland not long ago put forward an administrative order basically saying that the post office can deliver these drugs without fear of any kind of retribution into states like Texas, clearing the way really for the drug to be able to be used if patients in Texas can get a doctor to prescribe it to them and send it to them there. And so this is a way clearly of trying to crack down on that. What I think is interesting about this forum shopping that we see happening with this particular judge in Amarillo is that this same thing was happening in Texas in 2018 with patent cases, where patent trolls were being given a friendly audience before the single judge in Waco to whom these cases could be assigned. And they were being filed there from all over the country until finally the Western District, where that court was, the chief judge of the Western District, decreed that those cases would now be assigned throughout the entire Western District and not just in Waco. And I wonder if something similar could happen here. The Amarillo court is in the Northern District of Texas, and I'd like to see if that's something we may want to consider, whether that can be considered at the federal level by Senator Hirono and her colleagues, or whether the Northern District Chief Judge, who is a George W. Bush appointee, might consider that doing that here as well, because we are seeing a flood of these kinds of cases going to this particular judge.
Senator?
Yes. And the court, as Wendy said, could decide for itself that they should distribute these cases in the way that she explained. But if they don't do that, then I would say that Congress should consider stepping in and forcing under distribution that will result in fair and objective rulings, which is definitely not what we have. And I just want to mention, Joy, that we have a U.S. Supreme Court that is really captive of the far right with Alito and Thomas, et cetera, but they do not even have a judicial code of ethics that applies to them. And so there are bills. We had to have bills that would force them to adopt a code of ethics, which they refuse to do so far.
The thing is that, you also have a Republican Party, Senator, who, they have, the VA announced that the Veterans Administration, I know you sit on the committee that oversees them, that they would offer abortions in cases of rape, incest, and when a mother's life is at risk. Republican lawmakers just this Wednesday reintroduced a resolution to reverse the policy, using a process that would force a vote in the Senate, even though it is controlled by Democrats. You have them doing that. You have Republicans who've been lying this whole time. McConnell, Mike Rounds, Chuck Grassley, Mike Lummis, Mitt Romney, Ron Johnson, all lying and saying the state should control it. We're glad that Roe is gone because it's going to be all the little laboratories of the state. They don't believe that. They all want a national ban, and it seems like they're trying to get it by any means necessary.
Exactly. And frankly, that's why we can't trust them on issues like Medicare and Social Security either. So yes, what they're doing is they will find every way to gain control. This is about power and control over a woman's right to bodily autonomy. That's what it is. And the kind of anti-women fervor that is exemplified by all of these actions by the Republicans is just awesome. We have to fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. And women, seriously, watch out who you're voting for. You are voting for people who view themselves as your owner. In places like Texas, in some of these red states, women are voting for these people to put them in charge of your body, and now they own your body the minute you become pregnant, and your daughters. Think about it before you vote. Senator Mazie Hirono and Wendy Davis, thank you very much. Still ahead, the